Hi, my name is Basia Mosinski. I would like to thank you for joining me on this important topic to make peace with life. And I'm glad that you're here. I've got a little slideshow to share with you. I'll go ahead and start sharing my screen so that you can see that. And so I want to introduce myself. I'm a certified positive intelligence coach. I'm also a certified grief educator. I co-founded and co-lead the Humanitarian PQ Coaches. I started a chapter of the Compassionate Friends in Newport Beach. So my work has been from the beginning when I became a psychotherapist. I was licensed in New York State. My work has been about this process of the grief journey. So I'm glad that you're here. Grief and loss are, they can come to us in many different forms. It could be the loss of someone that we love, but also many other losses can really just stop us in our tracks and cause us a lot of challenges. So that's what we're talking about today. So make peace with life. It's a journey. It's a journey that that starts when something major happens to us. And what we do in this process is learn how to use our emotions, to really identify what's happening with us so that we have some power to be able to not stop the emotions, but to be able to use them and shift to the side of our brain where there is much more openness, creativity, things like that. So what we'll be talking about today is learning self-command and developing some new habits of how to not only observe, but also to shift. And then creating some new ways to deal with problems that sometimes we get into a loop of, this is the way that I cope. This is the way that I cope, no matter what it is or anything that's similar to a major event that happened in the past. So we'll be looking at that as well. And then also considering the cost. What is the cost of one's well-being when you're in a fight with your life, where you don't trust life, where life doesn't flow, but it's more resistance with more of your heels digging in, so to speak. And then through that journey of intentional growth to get to a place of purpose. What is this about? What is life about? What is your life about? What's my life about? And those answers hopefully will come from this process. So what is the fight with life? The fight comes from major life-changing events. It comes from people, situations. It comes from within ourselves. The fight is real. I don't want to even remotely indicate that the fight is something that is just mental. It's real, and it affects our whole body, mind, body, and spirit. But what we've learned over time is that the way that we cope with our challenges in life, they might be outdated. They might have been established when we were much younger, and those ways don't necessarily serve us any longer. So my work is coaching. I coach with positive intelligence. So what that means is that I work with people individually or in groups, and we work on what's happening in your life or people's lives. And then in the middle of it is it's kind of like a sandwich. The meat of it is the program Positive Intelligence. So what is positive intelligence? But it's recognizing that saboteurs, those things, those obstacles that get in our way, they live in the brain and they wreak havoc. So they hijack us in our best attempts to not get thrown off track by people, circumstances, or situations. So also part of positive intelligence is to recognize that life's major stressors also create the opportunities to become really fierce in protecting your own well-being, and quieting anxiety, stress, anger, depression, the mental fog that comes when we're overwhelmed. We'll be looking at that and how that shows up, and what we can do to change that. And we're also going to look at how to increase the ability to shift from to self-command, so more intentional living, as opposed to being overwhelmed by emotions and having the emotions running the show, or the opposite, where we're in such control that we don't actually live life. We're just stressed and controlling. So mental fitness is what we're talking about. And mental fitness is our capacity to respond to those challenges that we're talking about with positive rather than negative mindset. And I really want to emphasize that this is not toxic positivity that I'm talking about. Toxic positivity would be, nothing's wrong, everything happens for a reason, there's nothing to worry about, it's going to take care of itself, or that kind of like, avoiding life. That's actually a saboteur. Avoider is a saboteur that many of us struggle with. But that is not what positive intelligence is. Positive intelligence is really impacting relationships, mental clarity, peak performance, so that there's the self-command that's necessary to be bigger than the problems that we're facing, so that we have some opportunity to be creative and see things in a different way, curious, those kinds of things that really help us to be human and acknowledge that life is a series of events, and some of us seem to get more difficult events than others, but and that's not anything we can predict, right? We can just develop ourselves to the best capacity that we can to navigate life when it comes to us. So positive intelligence was formulated out of a lot of research. It was started by Shirzad Chamine, who wrote the book Positive Intelligence, and now he's got this amazing app and program that I was trained in and now offer to my clients. And it comes from the synthesis of neuroscience, cognitive behavioral psychology, positive psychology, and performance science. I really responded to that. I like being part of something that is grounded in research, that is grounded in research and information, and is articulated and can be repeated. I really appreciate that, even though our lives are unique and each person comes to this with their own set of circumstances and strengths. What I like is that there is a process that people can engage in to help them individually. So the research results from all of those areas of focus. What Shirzad came up with is that there are only 3 core muscles that are involved or need to be involved in discovering the root of mental fitness. So it's the saboteurs that I mentioned earlier. There are 10 saboteurs, and intercepting them. So what it takes is, over time, it takes sensitizing ourselves to recognize when a saboteur is present. Sometimes they gang up and there are more than one at play. And then shifting to self-command, like, okay, I'm aware that my saboteur is present, and I'm choosing in this moment not to go in that familiar cycle that I've gone in before, and shift to something that we call sage, which is that creative explorer, that navigator, that those energies that, and direct action, that are those energies that come from clarity, mental clarity, as opposed to, oh my God, I got to do something, and coming from that emotional knee-jerk reaction. So that's really the core, and it seems very simple, and it actually is to apply, and I'll show you how. So the saboteurs, who are they? I won't go into all of them, but if you work with me, I will send you a saboteur assessment so that you can learn your top saboteurs. We all have them. We all have many. So this work doesn't eliminate them. This work helps you to identify them and collapse the amount of time that it takes to respond in a more positive way. So some of the saboteurs are probably names that are very familiar, like the avoider, the restless, like someone that jumps from one thing to the other to the other. The people pleaser is a big one too. The people pleaser is that person that starts from a really good place of wanting to help others, to please others. It's only in their overuse that these saboteurs become saboteurs. They start from a good place, like hyperachiever. So certainly achievement is really powerful and necessary, but it's in the overachievement that we start losing connections to our humanity, to being human, to forgiving ourselves, to like accepting that, I'm not perfect. I'm just a human being. So the saboteurs motivate through negative emotions, through stress, fear, guilt, anger, shame, insecurity. And the other side that we're talking about, the shift to the other side of the brain where there's more openness and possibility, and we call that sage. Sage motivates through empathy, curiosity, creativity, passion, purpose, meaning, direct action. Those are the things of the sage, where even the energy feels differently when you say the words. The saboteur is just like right there to misguide you, and the sage is that part of you, that essence of you that is much bigger and free from these things that can impact our lives. So Shirzad talks about this in a very simple way, like recognizing those saboteurs, recognizing those negative emotions, is kind of like putting your hand on a hot stove. So the negative emotions are there to inform you. They're not something to control or master or get away from. They're actually very necessary, but only for a split second. As the example of a hand on a hot stove, the pain, right, makes you withdraw your hand, and it indicates that you're in trouble, that your hand is going to burn if you leave it there. Similarly with emotions, if we don't shift, then we're at the mercy of those negative emotions. And also I wanted to just clarify that also the saboteurs, they are with us, but they're not us. They're not actually us. They kind of walk alongside us, and at different times in life, one saboteur might be lessened and another one kind of take front and center. So they all kind of play a role in our lives at different times. So they're not really us, like unlike the sage, which is really us, our inner wisdom, that inner self that is we can rely on, that we can actually trust. But it gets buried through life. It gets buried, and it's hard to find it again. So this work of my coaching with positive intelligence is to get to that essence and understand more clearly, who you are and what you want and those things. that get masked underneath one catastrophe after another, or just living in life and dealing with the stresses of daily life. So what does this all have to do with